Welcome to Idle Talk. Today, I'm procrastinating episode 50, but we got a little Reddit episode for you on deck. But first, before we get right into that, I want to just say, I was right about Logan Paul. As much as that sentence could get you mad, angry, or whatever the case may be, but ever since this incident back in 2015, 2016, whenever that may have occurred in Japan, I always thought, that wasn't gonna stop him from succeeding. I feel like we should not forget about that incident. Of course, we should always kind of keep him accountable for that. But I knew that sometimes you just know when people are gonna bounce back from stuff, and I definitely knew that was gonna affect him in the long run. I've described him as, and people kind of look at me weird when I say this, as the next Joe Rogan of podcasters, and I feel like Joe Rogan's time has officially ended. He is not going to be considered a top guy anymore. I feel like the spot is primed for Logan Paul to take it, but who knows? Anybody else could come up in the scene and kind of like take that spot from Joe Rogan because of all of his COVID shenanigans that he talks about in his podcast. People are just getting sick and tired of Joe Rogan and his use of the N-word in the past. And, let's be frank, people are tired of Joe Rogan. But I think Logan Paul's primed to take that position. He's also going to be at WrestleMania this year, which is it's a pretty big deal considering that is the mainstream wrestling company. A lot of people compare other companies to kind of like niche, like hardcore wrestling fans, but that is the most mainstream wrestling company you could work for. Yeah, but I mean, Logan Paul's got that new Prime energy drink with KSI. He's got a lot going for him. He's got a successful podcast, so I feel like over the next 2 years he's gonna overtake Joe Rogan as the number one listened to podcast, which Joe Rogan kind of still holds that title, even though he's only exclusively on Spotify. But, I feel like his time has come and gone. And I think next man up is Logan Paul, unless somebody else bursts out in the scene. So, let's just jump right into it. First thing, I saw this on Facebook, which is the craziest part, right? It's a text chain, and it's like, what the fuck? Why did you leave out like that? Hello? And the person's name is blurred out. And the person said, "Babe, I'm sorry for leaving abruptly like that. I had a panic attack out of nowhere. I haven't been in a crowded restaurant in years. I just needed a few minutes of fresh air. Can you come outside?" So that person is sending it, right? So we're reading it out of the perspective of the person who had the panic attack. The girlfriend disliked that comment, and she said, "Are you serious right now? You leave me here to explain to my family and friends why my boyfriend ran out crazy. You embarrassed me. You could have warned me," shaking my damn head. And then the person replies, "Again, I'm sorry, babe. It's fight or flight. I couldn't control it. I didn't mean for this to happen. Can you come outside with me for a second?" She disliked the message. "You're sorry? You haven't had any attacks in the 11 months we've been together. Now you freak out like a crazy person in front of people I have to see and work with? Now I will be the laughing stock at work. Thank you for embarrassing me. No, I'm not coming out." And he replies, "Damn, babe, I said I'm sorry. I think as the restaurant got crowded, that was a trigger for me. We haven't been to a crowded restaurant before. Can you come outside, please? I need you." And she says, "No, please don't come back and just go home. I thought this was something I could deal with, but I cannot accept this type of embarrassment. Anytime you have a trigger, I wouldn't want my kids to have that trait. I'm sorry, but we cannot continue with this relationship. Let's cool it for a while." He replies, "Can you please come outside and talk to me, please?" She says, "No, I have family and friends that came from far to hang out with us. Just go home and pack your stuff, please. I need distance. I'll let them know you're not feeling well." And he replies, "Are your family and friends looking at you right now?" "What? Duh, they're looking at me. Why would you ask me that? You're acting and talking crazy. Now please don't text me anymore. Just go home." He replies, "You were supposed to follow me out of the restaurant so I could propose to you. Your family and friends would have followed you outside. They were all in on this. Talk about embarrassment. I will be going home now. Glad I know how you really feel about my mental health. If I did have a trigger, enjoy the rest of your dinner with your family and friends." And she replies, "Babe, wait, I'm coming out." That's just something I wanted to share with you guys. So when I saw it, I was just like, where is this going? Like, she's being like a total B. And it turns out he was trying to get married, but thank God he didn't. I say he dodged a bullet with that one. But it's, that's just, people show you their true colors. And, I think that guy's got to be eternally grateful for that. Now let's get into the Reddit stuff. So I went on AskReddit, The first one I saw, I grabbed. So I screenshot some of the craziest things I've read while scrolling and doing the work for this episode, which in reality it is 9:41 p.m. on Monday, and I couldn't put the episode I wanted to put together in this amount of time. So pivoting, adjusting, calling an audible, whatever you may say, whatever you may call it, but that's what I'm doing right now. So ask Reddit. It says, this is a serious question. What terrifying confession has someone told you while intoxicated? It gets crazy. Okay, first one. My great uncle, while extremely intoxicated on my grandpa's porch, told me how he cut a woman's throat in Vietnam because he and 2 others were forced to draw straws to see who had to do it. I have no other context and none I can think of justifying anything. It destroyed his life. Already, man. Already this shit is getting hot. There's another one I want to read, but just like, I mean, is there a better way to choose who decides it? I mean, how unfortunate it would be if you had to do a game of rock, paper, scissors for something serious like that. Which, don't get me wrong, Vietnam was pretty crazy, and we didn't even win that war, so like at what cost, you know? Next one. One time, someone told me he used to feed LSD to this little girl who grew up on their street. Him and all the other kids used to lock arms around her and scream, "Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare," while she was tripping. Bruh, that's pretty fucked up. Honestly, let's just like take a step back at this real quick. That's honestly probably the most traumatizing thing that has never happened to me. Like how fucked up is that? I'm like feeling a little bit sick reading that, but you know, I'm gonna have to put warnings on this episode. This one is crazy. So again, sexual assault warning while we get there. I'm gonna start saying them before I read them. It says, my husband told me when he was little, his older stepbrother, by 6 years, used to make him suck on his penis in order for him to play games with him. He only ever told me once and said he never wanted to talk about it again. He said he didn't want to feel like a victim. We still see his brother regularly, but I can't act the same around him. That is, that is some fucked up shit. That is some definitely, like, some white people shit. That's all I'm going to say about that. Next, this is a murder warning. Some guy that had a crush on me confessed that he's been having thoughts about killing me. I don't see what the purpose of like having those thoughts are. Like was that supposed to come off as romantic, you think, or like why did he feel the need to share that information? Nonetheless, let's move on to the next one. This one is alcohol abuse warning, suicidal abuse or like warning, trigger warning. So the person says, my family life was pretty messed up, abusive, narcissistic, alcoholic parents. I always knew my mom was mentally ill, but this confirmed it. My 18th birthday, my parents were shit-faced by midday. Mom was in one of those moods where nothing was right and everything was awful, and it was all my fault. Her and my dad ended up in a screaming match, Mom demanding that he kick me out of the house, and my dad saying that if I leave, then him or one of my sisters has to leave to make it fair. Don't even try to make sense of it. It's been over a decade and I still have no idea. Long story short, she took all the pills she could find in the house and tried to kill herself. I went looking for her, found the packets, then found her with her head in the toilet. So I'm there on my birthday trying to figure out what pill she's taken while dialing an ambulance on my phone. She looks me dead in my eyes and says, I hate you. I wish you were dead. If I die, it's your fault. It broke me. I kind of want to leave a reply to this person just to kind of be like, hey, it's like really not your fault. I'm going to reply later. But their username is throwaway. Something. I'm not going to say it. But obviously, it's not their main account, but I will leave a reply, kind of just like being like, hey, dude, or yeah, dude, it's not your fault. At the end of the day, people can be real shitty, but it's how you react to that. It's how you take that information and those experiences and how you channel that into you. Are you going to kind of channel it into the same kind of energy and emotions that they channeled to you? Or are you going to take it, reform it, and kind of have an open heart and an open connection and like a lot of love running through you? Ultimately it's up to us to decide how we deal with our experiences. But on to the next one. Okay, this is like just a warning for like violence, I guess. It doesn't start off crazy. It's just how it ends, But so it's another crazy one. But I kind of just want. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I just felt like, hey, let me go on Reddit and see if it's a good idea. So far, I don't think it's been a good idea, but hopefully we can end it on a lighter note as we progress through the episodes. But not the episodes, as we progress through the comments. But it says, we had this extremely petite gay fellow in my program in college who was 27, but genuinely looked and sounded no older than his mid-teens. He'd make fun of himself for it all the time, choosing practice monologues written for kids or young women, calling himself the king of twinks or Peter Pan, saying he was gonna use his acting skills and kitty looks to help Chris Hansen catch pedos. That sure aged well. Anyway, at a post-semester booze-up, he got shit-faced and confessed to a few of us that he's never finished going through puberty properly because his dad had completely, emasculated him with a hunting knife when he was 14 after catching him making out with his male cousin. Balls and dick. He narrowly averted bleeding to death, but his dad burned what was cut off, so there was only so much reconstruction that could have been done once his grandparents and the ambulance got him to the hospital. Basically enough to be able to urinate. He had some hormone therapy, but the combination of testosterone and trauma made him fly into uncontrollable rages where he literally tried to bite people's throat out. So he took the bare minimum to keep his system from going totally out of whack and just stayed a runt, in his words. I don't even know what to say to that. That didn't start off crazy. I just thought, it was just funny. Like how, he would describe himself at the beginning, but then once we got to the part about his dad finding him making out with his cousin, that was like such a 920 change. Like, you just can't believe that shit happens like this, places especially. I know the prompt said serious, but sometimes you read shit on the internet and you hope that the statement of shit not being true on the internet like 99% of the time rings true and that this was a lie. Switching subreddits, we're gonna go to r/horror stories. I think I'm switching to that just because I want to read something that's scary but fictional. I've been getting in the habit of kind of just like practicing like reading stuff like that. So because I know my TikTok audience, you guys really like that real like horror story episode that I put out recently. So we're gonna see how you guys react to this one. I smacked the microphone. But let's get into it. This story is called 5 Knocks, and it gets fucking crazy. I had to stop reading it because I wanted to like read it fully with like my actual like reactions to it, but it gets really good. I skimmed it. 5 Knocks. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to put these into words, but if I don't write this now, I may never get the chance. My name is Cassandra, and I'm 14 years old. My mom and dad are always away on business, so I live with my grandma for a long time. My grandma is the nicest person, baking cookies when I'm sad, telling me about her soap operas on TV that she watches while I'm at school, knitting sweaters, all the stuff that makes up your classic sweet old grandma. That was until the incident. I came home to the house completely dark, the television blaring loudly in the back. Usually it was the cries of a tormented lover, but today it was just static. Loud, unending static. The house was a wreck, like a tornado had swept through it. Broken dishes littered the floor. Cutlery was missing, which made me nervous, but I quickly realized that one of our 4 wooden chairs was missing from the dining set. I thought perhaps someone had tied up my grandma and was keeping her locked inside, perhaps like one of those episodes on Criminal Minds. I ran to the neighbors and pounded on the door until they answered, quickly explaining the situation as they ushered me inside, and I don't know what happened when the police came, but I do know they found my grandma hanging from the ceiling fan in the TV room. She wasn't dead though. Her eyes just stood at the screen as she whispered the words 5 knocks over and over again. I knew what that meant as Grandma had told me about her days as a witch in a coven before my mom was born. She had been excommunicated when she had given birth to a baby girl instead of a baby boy. She told me that as in her house late at night you could feel the air grow cold. Unnaturally so, and there were these glowing yellow eyes that peer out from the darkness only to disappear moments later. The demon was a protector of the coven, and those excommunicated lived with the demon for the rest of their days. But lately, my grandma had become paranoid, spending late nights trying to figure out some way to expel the demon from this realm. The demon was harmless till then, but it had started scratching her arms while she slept, leaving 3 long red lines upon them almost breaking the skin. My grandma said not to tell my mom. She wouldn't understand. My mom would just say that grandma was making up stories trying to scare me like she had scared her. After the incident, my mother and father came back home and started working at their offices instead of going away. I did not get to see my grandma for a long time, but after a year, my grandma finally moved in with us. At least, that's who they told me she was. This woman was not my grandma. Her hair had gone almost white, falling out every time she moved. Her body was so fragile that I was afraid to hug her. Her eyes were bloodshot with a slight yellow to them. My parents told me my grandma had Alzheimer's and her liver started to fail, so they brought her home to be with her family before she passed. But I couldn't believe it. This woman was too different. She never spoke, never smiled, never left her wheelchair at all. She slept, ate, went to the bathroom in that chair, and sometimes I'd find her in my room just staring at me. Tonight was different though. Tonight I know my grandma's gone. I've called the police and I prayed they'll come soon. My grandma slit my parents' throat as they slept. I'm hiding under their blood-soaked bed. If you're reading this, it's because I'm long dead and the police may have finally released this to the public. You might think I'm crazy. Say that my grandmother had suffered irreversible brain damage and lost her mind to a pre-existing condition after hanging. But I know the truth. My grandma's soul was eaten by that demon, inhibiting her body before killing my family. The demon of COVID 338 is to blame, not my grandmother. May God have mercy on her soul. My name is Officer Judy Law, and for releasing this evidence to the public, I will surely lose my job. But the public has a right to know that this was anything besides natural. I was the first person in the scene. I didn't wait for backup. I should have, I know. But this girl needed help immediately. I couldn't just wait around for the other officers and just let her die. What I saw was something I'll never forget. The floor was covered in blood, about an inch thick, though it was mixed with water from the broken sink. Inside the kitchen sinks were the heads of the mother and father, half boiled in the hot tap water. It was clear they had been there for a while, but that wasn't all. 2 hearts and livers were cooking in oil on the nearby stove, as if being sautéed to perfection. I'll admit I contaminated the crime scene with vomit at the sight of it all, but I approached the upstairs. I heard a scurrying motion above me. Unsure of what it was, I took out my gun and cautiously made my way up. That's when I saw the 3 of them. The mother and the father, headless corpse laying on the bed, while their daughter was curled up in between. Her wrist had been slit, a razor blade collapsed in her fingers. She had given up hope on survival and decided she'd rather be with them than have her grandmother take her life. I heard the scurried sounds again, turning around to see the grandmother. You know that scene in The Exorcist where she walks down the stairs in that spider-like motion? Yeah, she was naked and spider crawling towards me. She held a knife in her hand, so before she could do anything, I shot. I shot a round of ammo in her, but that didn't stop her coming towards me. She kept upon me, the knife pressed against my neck as she drooled upon my face. Then she moved her face just beside my ear. I won't forget what she whispered to me. 3 knocks and I'm coming. 2 knocks and I'm here. 1 knock on your window means I'm inside, my dear. 5 knocks in total, 5 different locks, all of them broken now, thanks to the broad. Broad? If you hear them, then you pass me on. Sing a song for God, since it'll feel so wrong. Until then, swallow down your fear. That thing in your belly is precious, my dear. She then slit her throat, and I hate to admit it, but I swallowed some of that blood. I just laid on the floor, too shaken to get up. The chief came soon after, my husband, Marcus Law. 2 weeks later, we found out I was pregnant with a baby boy, and I realized what that old demon woman said to me. I'm sitting at home now, waiting for those 5 knocks. I'm sorry to whomever I pass this on to, but I have to do this. I'm posting this so that people become aware, to help others pass this demon on and keep it at bay. Maybe I'm just doing this to ease my own guilt, but the truth needs to be told. Please, if you hear 5 knocks, run. Run to the nearest store and pass it on. May God have mercy on our souls. See, I like shit like that. I mean, that was pretty spooky. I won't lie to you. Like, I was reading it knowing it was like a work of fiction. But even then, I was like so like invested in that. And I have fun reading them. I hope people like that. You know, I know I'm not going to revert my podcast to a particular specific like horror narration podcast, but it might be something that I do later on the line, you know, our own separate little side project for that. But man, that was a good ass story, and there's a lot of stories like that on Reddit. You know, it kind of lost me in the middle where we changed perspectives to the police officer, which is like really unrealistic in my opinion. But, I digress. Let's switch subreddits and let's head to Am I the Asshole? A very famous subreddit. Okay, this one says, am I the asshole for getting married before my sister after she announced her wedding first? I really feel bad and I don't know if I'm the asshole and how I could make everybody happy. So my sister and I, as children, were always very competitive in sports, grades, but as I got older, I didn't want that anymore. So I changed to a different sport and studied something completely different than her. She then started to get competitive with our personal life. She was always very passive-aggressive about me having a boyfriend first. Later, I moved together with my boyfriend and she made mean comments about it all the time. After a while, she found her perfect match and things got easier. I knew that she wanted to get married first and be the first one to have children, and it didn't bother me at all because I'm in no hurry. Last Christmas, she announced that she was getting married in 2023, and I was really happy for her. At the beginning of this month, my boyfriend, 26, and I got a call from his younger brother, 24. He was informed from his doctor that he has a very aggressive disease. We couldn't believe it and went to his home to be there for him. My boyfriend was his best man for his brother's wedding. Their dad died when they were little, and they are very close. It meant a lot to him. Last week, my boyfriend asked me if I would marry him. He said that he could understand if it's not that romantic, but he said that he could understand if that's not romantic, but he said he wanted to marry while his brother is here and to have him as his best man. I never cared about an expensive wedding with a lot of people and always wanted to have a nice day with the most important persons in our life. I feel like that should be people again. So I could totally get that. I agreed because I love him and I know how happy it would make his little brother, but I immediately knew that this would cause stress with my sister. I called her. She knows that my boyfriend's brother is very sick and told her about the proposal and that it will only be a small wedding this year with her, my parents, my grandparents, and some friends, so she could still have this big wedding first. She got mad and called me jealous and that I'm using a dying person to get married first. I know that she's overreacting, but I do feel bad because she announced it first and it means so much to her. I don't want to ruin her moment. So, am I the asshole? They make an edit and they talk about how English is their second language and, I'm sorry about the people thing. But no, you're not. She sounds very self-centered. Again, very competitive in all the wrong ways. Like, everybody just relax, take a chill pill. It's really not that big of a deal. Like, again, you're not the butthole in this situation. I feel like it's not an everyone sucks here moment either. Your sister is definitely overreacting in an unhealthy, toxic manner. As a result, she's being a total asshole. And that ends today's episode. Again, it's not really episode 50. Again, I'm procrastinating that one. But it was a crazy episode. I won't lie to you. So I'm going to post this clip first. So this episode that you're about to listen to or you're about to watch the clips for, please, warnings on all these things. For the audio listeners only, I put the in my hand motion, and I'm going to put a lot of things. But I'll put those in the show notes so that everybody is aware of what's going on. It is a little like 18 plus this episode, and it's not even in a way that it's like sexual or anything like that. It's just really, really quote unquote real things. And so I'm going to put all the warnings, in the appropriate spots. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Follow me on TikTok at IdleTalkPod, Instagram at IdleTalkPod. We have a Twitter. I don't really use it. I just retweet shit with my regular Twitter. But follow the podcast Twitter at IdleTalkPod with a 0 instead of an O. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes and Spotify. They share the same rating system, so clutch, please. Subscribe on YouTube, IdleTalkPod. I'm going to post shorts instead of the long clips because, frankly, my opportunity cost. It's kind of crazy doing everything by myself. And managing how to pay my bills and shit like that. So again, I'm going to have to cut some corners for now until, we can get this fully locked and loaded. Again, I just want to shout out Italy. Not again, but, shout out Italy. Like, I'm popping over there, apparently. I'm growing over there. So my Italian listeners, shout out to you guys. Much love. Appreciate it. Canada. Apparently, I'm growing in Canada, too. We know the U.S. is my dominant region, but we're like surprisingly growing in other countries, and I appreciate that. And I reached out to this kid, this like 15-year-old kid. He's still in high school. He's making beats. He reached out to me first, and I took a chance. I'm like, this kid's young. I thought to myself, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, he's probably sucks, But I reached out to him and I said, hey, send me what you got. And he sent me this beat on Spotify. I liked it so much that I was like, I brought Malik upstairs. I was like, hey, you want to listen to this for a second and see how it makes you feel, see how it resonates with you. And he liked it too. So I texted that kid. I said, hey, hit me up at the start of the summer, because the summer music gets hot. Outside gets hot. People start doing things. So I told him, reach out to me at the start of the summer. Work on your craft. Put some stuff out. And I would love to talk to that kid on the podcast, because I judged the book by its cover. I thought it was going to be XYZ, and it's not. So hopefully he kind of holds up to that standard that I already have in my head for him. And I would love to talk about how a kid that young is just that creative and how his brain works. And so I'm excited for that. But that was this week's Idle Talk. Again, not officially number 50, but technically number 51. Number 50 is going to be special, okay? We have to do something special. If anything, I got a plan B for number 50. That triggered a memory for me. I'll tell you the memory. When I was in South Carolina, I know I talked about that 2 episodes ago, but that Walmart lady, she was like, you here again with a plan B? Is it a different woman? And I was like, nah, it's the same one. So I bought like a record, like 20 plan Bs in like my time there. But then somebody told me that after like 3 plan Bs, it just doesn't work the same. And I've just been like, what the fuck? That sucks. But that was this week's Idle Talk. I'm Fernando. Appreciate you for listening. Please, please, please share the podcast with people that, haven't listened yet. And, maybe I'll be their favorite podcast. Who knows? I won't know until you share it. So please share it. I appreciate the people who have been listening, and I appreciate the new people that come and take a chance and just follow me along this ride. And if today was your first episode, I apologize that this was the first episode you listened to. Maybe go back, listen to some funny ones, please. So you can get a gist of what this podcast is about, or some serious ones. How about my podcast with Becoming a Sunflower host, Jazabelle? That's a serious one. Even the one on her account, go listen to that one too. Or listen to like the one, Are We Okay? That's like top 4 episodes, I think. That was like literally number 4, number 5. Go listen to that one. Or listen to one of our first like guests who talk about mental health seriously, Chris Marie. I was just looking at the stats. That's one of our most popular episodes. And it talks about her struggles living with anxiety and depression and kind of how she copes with them. So again, if you're new, go check those out. I might throw those up in the story. Who knows? You won't know until you follow us on Instagram. So go check that out. But I'm going to end this episode right here. Peace.